Welcome to Chapters, everyone. Thank you all for joining in on this discussion of picking up the pieces to 100 broken promises. I am Ushima Cherry Burks, your host and the author of Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises. Every Sunday for 9 weeks, yes, thank you, Yvette, we will be discussing one chapter of my book. Okay, panel, introduce yourselves and tell us what you do. We'll start with Yvette.
Okay, my name is Yvette. I am out of Rockford, Illinois. I am an entrepreneur of two businesses. I have two businesses called Travel Goddess, which is through IntelliTravel. Then I also have Travel Accessories, which is through Paparazzi.
All right, welcome. I'm so glad to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Chanel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Chanel Wesley. I just want to say that I'm so honored to be on this panel with these gorgeous women who are just strong Black women in business. And so I just want to salute you guys. My name is Chanel Wesley. I am a writer, creative person, do so many hats, a mom. But one thing I just wanted to say about the book really quick before we get into things is this book is about healing. And we all go through so many struggles, things that we encounter in life. And this book is a must read. If you're going through a healing process, whether it's grief, disappointment, abuse, it speaks to so many different things. This book is a must read. You got to read it.
Oh, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm glad to have you here as well. Thank you so much. And Shankita. Uh-oh, you're muted. Sean, you're muted. Unmute yourself. Oh, Lord, please don't have her. Okay, there you go.
I'm a multitasker.
I see. Please be careful.
Let me say that. I'm a mom. I know. I know. Stick with her. I'm a mom. I'm a multitasker. I do AR specialist. Accounts receivable collections. And you know what, you guys? I forgot to tell you, I sell Mary Kay. That's how I keep the youthfulness.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes. Please send me your Mary Kay information so I can link it in the comments, in the links, okay? Put your link in the comments. I cannot. How did you forget that? We recorded. Yes. Okay. Welcome, Sean. Thank you. I'm so glad to have you.
Girl, yeah.
I don't know how you forgot that. I'm going to put you back on mute because your background is loud, but welcome and I love you dearly. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. Today we are discussing Chapter 7. The title of Chapter 7 is A Village. The titles in Chapter 7 include Daddy's Fall from Grace, On Daddy's Deathbed, Mourning Mikey, Raising Hell for Mikey, Mother Matters, and The Wrong Counsel. Chapter 7 opens with the realization that my dear daddy was a human being. Who knew, right? I was a daddy's girl through and through, so while my life was falling apart during this time, I needed my dad. And I was a whole grown woman, a full adult on my second marriage, but I still wanted my daddy child. I had placed him on such a high pedestal that I couldn't even reach him, and it was very unfair. I only recognized this when the dust settled, of course, and I discussed my unrealistic expectations with him. He simply said to me, well, hun, I never asked you to put me on a pedestal. And I was like, you sure right, you didn't. So I moved on, and we moved on from that experience. I ended that story with a promise to myself. I promised to set reasonable expectations for my loved ones. With that said, have you ever expected too much from others? It can be a child, a parent, a partner, the systems, your job, or anyone else. Yvette, we'll start with you. Oh, I think are you muted?
Okay, there we go. Okay, I used to be a technician for Walgreens Pharmacy for 25 plus years, and I didn't get the encouragement that I thought I would get from them because I put in so much time with them and so much effort. And, you know, I put in my all by helping the customers and, you know, going above and beyond. And I never got a thank you. I've never, you know, every 5 years they're supposed to acknowledge you, but I never got acknowledged. And then it came 3 years ago, no, 4 years ago. My father came over from Puerto Rico because he was in the hurricanes that hit back to back. So he lost everything. So I had to take care of him now. And I had to take my dad to work with me every day. I couldn't leave him at home because he has dementia and schizophrenia. So he has to have 24-hour care. I was grateful for them, you know, letting me be able to take him to work so that I can continue to work. But my dad got sick, and then I called in and I said, I won't be in today. And he literally told me, well, I'm going to have to write you up. And I'm like, how are you going to write me up? And I'm taking care of my parent, the one that needs my help. Furthermore, you know, me and my dad, we never had a relationship. My dad left me at the age of 2. So from 2 on up till 4 years ago, I never talked to my daddy, you know, but all of a sudden, you know, things happen. Yeah, things happen, and I'm taking care of him, you know. So I figure I'm being the better person. That's still my father, regardless. And I guess what I'm saying is, I felt that with me giving them all that I gave them, that it should have been a more understanding, you know, scenario, and I didn't get that from them.
I'm sorry you had that experience. It's so many different layers to that small bit of information that you just gave me. I'm just blown away on so many different levels. And I just commend you for stepping up and, you know, helping your dad after not having that relationship for all those years. Because I know a lot of people who would not. And so I commend you for that.
You know what? My mother, I thank you. My mother and my dad, they're not married, but, you know, I had told my mother, my first thing was no, because he's never done nothing to me, for me. He's never picked up a phone, no card, no nothing. So I'm like, no, all of a sudden he needs help, so I'm going to help him. She's like, Yvette, but that's your father. So, you know, I thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, you know, because his sister took care of him, but, you know, once you get older, you have your own health issues, and, you know, you can do for others for so long. So, you know, I was like, well, that's my dad. So.
Well, I commend you.
He's here now, so
I'm sure you'll be blessed for all the effort that you put in. And it's interesting how that full circle goes all the way around. And I, you know, it's interesting when we talked about this before in one of the other sessions, Sean, and how you were talking about your estranged relationship with your dad. I guess that's an interesting question that I would want to pose for you. If that were to ever happen to you and he needed you now to take him in full time, we can't say what we would and wouldn't do until it happens, right? But that's an interesting question to decide if you would, you know, take that on or not. That's such a huge thing. It's a huge sacrifice. I guess that's the word I was looking for. That's a huge sacrifice to do that. So Yvette, thank you for sharing. That's great. So I also want to ask you the second part to that. Do you think you expect too much from yourself?
I don't think I expect enough. I know I can do more, but I'm going through some issues myself, health-wise. So I have my days when I'm up and I have my days when I'm down. And when I'm down, it's hard to get up.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going through counseling right now for that. So, it's a day by day thing really with me. So today could be a good day, tomorrow could be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just basically need to learn how to take care of me.
Absolutely. And that is huge on our platform. Self-care is an integral part of healing and actually being there for other people. So thank you for sharing your experience, Yvette. Thank you. Chanel.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Chanel, have you ever...
You said the question, I was thinking. Yeah, when you said the question, I had to think. And I would say, yes. I think I had unrealistic expectations of my mother as a child, a teenager, and even I want to say even to my middle to late 20s, early 30s. And my mother, she was such a loving and giving person. She was so kind, considerate. My mother was a foster parent, and we had so many children that came in and out of our home. And I kind of really wanted her all to myself. She used to always say, "She I have so much love, I can give it to everybody." But I'm like, "You're my mom. It's nice for you to be nice to people for a while, but I just want you to myself." And I was very selfish in that regard because I just wanted her to be mine. It's bad enough I have to share it with siblings, but I didn't want the extended things. And she really taught me love and empathy and compassion. And we bumped heads so much because we have so many similar characteristics. And I just know that it helped me. Initially, I viewed her more like an antagonist. Like she can't understand what I'm saying. She doesn't see what I'm feeling. I'm saying this, I'm saying that. And I set the bar so high for her because of everything that she did, everything that she brought to the family, that I gave no room for her to be able to fall down flat even a little bit. My expectation was just too high. And it was unrealistic and it was unhealthy. And after my father died in 1990, my grandfather died in 91, and then my uncle, her brother, died in 92.
Oh, wow.
Mercy.
I didn't understand at that point what grief does. And it really just fractured her in ways. She's one of the strongest people that I know. And at the time, I couldn't understand the things that she was doing. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't process it. But as I've grown and as I've experienced my own losses, things make so much more sense on this end. When I was that age, you couldn't tell me nothing. Like, well, she can't see this. Why can't she see this? Why can't she see that? This is what I'm saying. But then as I had an opportunity to grow, I'm like, you know what? She was dealing with a lot. It was a lot on her plate. And I have
much respect and admiration for her at this point. And it's not a day that goes by that I say, you know what, she was really speaking some wisdom to me. She was really doing this. She was really doing that. So that was my expectation. And it was unrealistic and it was unhealthy. I hate that it took so long for me to recognize that, but I'm glad that I at least made that connection at this point in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, thank you for sharing.
And what was the second part of your question?
So Yvette brought up a good point for the second part of the question. Do you think that you expect too much or too little of yourself?
I expect too much of myself. The same high, unrealistic bar that I set for my mother, I have that same unrealistic high bar for myself. I'll give other people a pass. Like, it's okay. Oh, you didn't do it. Okay, well, come on, you can try again. But on myself, I'm hard. If I don't execute or accomplish these amount of things, if I set to myself that I'm going to do these things and I don't execute it, it's hard for me to deal with that. And just wanting to perform, wanting to execute, wanting to do all these different things. And when I don't do those things, when I fall short, it puts me in a bad mental space because I'm trying to regroup and I'm like, well, I didn't accomplish this or I didn't accomplish that. I could have had 30,000. Let's say I can literally have 30 things on my list.
Yeah.
I could have executed 25 of those things. If I didn't execute those 5, I'm beating myself up like, see, you got to work harder. You got to do this. You got to do that. So, and it's unhealthy, you know, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I'm hoping that going forward, it's going to allow me to keep things in a good perspective, to know that, you know, these are good goals, things that you're working towards. But if you don't accomplish all these things in a day, because you only have 24 hours in a day, it's okay. Relax, breathe. You know, you're going to get through this. So I'm really appreciating these questions.
Good. I'm glad. And I just want to encourage you to remember to stay the course and to delegate what you can delegate. And you can only do what you can do. At the end of the day, you have to celebrate every victory, every task. And I know
Girl,
that
you said a mouthful.
You and I are liking that all or nothing mentality, right? If it's not all 100%, that 38% is just not good enough. You know? And so that's something that I've absolutely been working on, just enjoying the journey, right? Finding joy in the journey and learning what I can as I move forward and I make progress. And I have to trust the process, because whatever is meant for us, and this is for all of us ladies, for everybody here on the panel and everybody watching, whatever is meant for us is meant for us, and nobody can take that from us. So if I get 2 things done off my to-do list, or if I get 1 thing done off my to-do list, and if it's 10 things on it, it was meant for me to do that 1 thing that day. And that's how I have to look at it. Because if that's all God allowed me to do, if God wanted me to sleep all day that day, guess what? I'm finna sleep all day that day. I needed my rest. You know what I mean? Whatever I need to do, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, absolutely. But thanks for sharing.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you. Sean, I'm hoping you could unmute yourself without causing a whole wreck, child. Can you? Oh, I just get so nervous. Okay. You did it.
I'm in the driveway, so I'm just gonna stay here until we finish.
Okay.
So I'm home, but I'm gonna just stay here, and I'm just gonna stay here. So I think for me personally, I put a lot of expectations, or I expect a lot out of people, because I give a lot, because I'm looking like, if I'm giving 120, I expect you to come at least 100, or 90 or 80, but over half of what I'm giving. And that's not a good thing to do, because I am who I am. I am who I am. And so I can't expect people to do the things that I do. In relationships, in friendships, with your friends, with your sister, your brother, I expect a lot from people. That's because I give a lot. And like I said, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's not good to have expectations of people, period, because people are who they are. I only expect or put expectations on them because I know how I am. So it's not right. But getting back to that question, you asked if I would take care of my father if he got sick. And honestly, I don't know. I cannot answer that question with an honest answer, because part of me would, because he is my father. But then the other part of me was like, well, I don't even know this man. I can count on one hand how many times I've seen him and have fingers left over. So that connection with him, it'd be a struggle for me, and then I'll probably have some resentment towards him. Like the lady, what's the movie? The
Diary of a Mad Black Woman, honey.
the movie. Yes. When she pushed him in that tub, and she left him there for a few days because she had resentment. She's like, look, I have given you all, and you go and you give it to somebody else, a whole, and she went and took you for clean. So here I am. I was willing for you to come back into my life with open arms, with no questions asked, like, how come you wasn't there, blah, 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 blah. But you didn't take that opportunity. So that question I couldn't answer. The other question, the answer to that, I am my worst enemy. I'm always, I doubt myself. I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. I could have did that better. Like with conversations, with interviews, with just life, period. Oh, I could have been, a better mom. And I make a list and I do the same thing. Well, damn, how come I didn't do X, Y, and Z? Oh, because I took too much time, doing, I took too much time doing task number 2 that I couldn't get to the other task. So I am my worst enemy. I am, like, I beat myself up a lot. Like, why did I stay in the relationship too long? How come I didn't notice the signs? Or, it's just, so
I get it. I get it. Thank you for sharing. And I love your transparency, because I'm going to say the same thing. I don't know what I would do in that situation. That would have to be something, taking care of an estranged family member that I needed, and they weren't there for me. So I don't know. Again, Yvette, you're God's favorite during this show, because I know I can do better with my life. But yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks for sharing. I just want to encourage us all to be kind to ourselves and to treat ourselves the way that we treat others. We do tend to, treat other people better than we treat ourselves, and we give other people leeway, and we don't give ourselves that same leeway. So if we don't take anything else from this session, just be kind to ourselves and treat ourselves the way that we treat other people, right? All right, thank you for sharing, ladies. Moving forward, chapter 7 was pretty heavy for me. It went in depth about my dad's death. He was married and supporting his wife and her 2 adult children. He was still working online while he was in hospice care. I was devastated to hear how he was being neglected and mistreated, and my husband Quan and I visited him in Texas, and we stayed there as long as we could to help him get his house in order. Before the visit, we've had several conversations about how he wanted to amend his will. And when I got there, he told me where will be found, because he no longer trusted his wife to honor his wishes to allocate our inheritance the way that he wanted. Honestly, it was the furthest thing from my mind, because I really felt like, even though he was in hospice and I knew that he was very ill, I just had this faith that my Superman would, come back to me. So I didn't think about it anymore, but he told her that he amended his will right before we left Texas to come back home to Alabama. Later on, I believe that day, I received a text message that read, "Kamoy, your father is dead." And that's how I found out that my best friend died. She stole everything that he left us. And when I called to just clarify and get some understanding about what this text message was about what happened, because I had just seen him, she was very hateful and rude. And she voiced that she was pissed about the changes that he made on the will. And I believe, my personal belief is that she gave him extra morphine doses when we left, because she was upset about him updating the will that she never planned on honoring in the first place. Quan saw how affected I was about his death and about everything being snatched from me and my siblings. And he was that silent pillar during this time. He actually went out and bought me a BMW truck, since that was one of the gifts that my dad left me. And he just told me, I know this won't bring your father back, but it's something that he wanted you to have, and I wanted to be the one to give it to you. I was surprised and I was grateful that God had placed my husband in my life at this time to help me pick up the broken pieces to this promise. So my question to you is, do you have a will or life insurance policy for your children to prevent anything like this from happening to them? Anyone could go first.
I have a life insurance policy, and honestly, my ex-husband, my child's father, is over the policy. Like, now if I get remarried, I'll change it, but until then everything goes to him, because I know if anything happens to me that he is going to take care of her, because he's a great father. So yeah. And I only have one kid, so yeah.
So they wouldn't be fighting over anything. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I'll go next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said this, because it's just a reality check, that I do need to get my affairs in order, because I don't have a policy stipulated or what's supposed to happen with this or what's supposed to happen with that. And, life happens to you suddenly. No one is ever anticipating death, even when a person is ill, just like you were just relating about your father, who was an amazing person. You always hope and expect for something to change. And knowing that should motivate me to do something different about my household and get my affairs in order so that I have things worked out for my children. So that's something I'm going to start working on. I'm going to add that to my to-do list, things that I have to do.
Yeah, put it at the top, Chanel. Yeah, but thank you. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Yvette. Right, number one.
Okay, I do not have one for myself, but I do have one for my dad. I don't have one for me.
Okay.
It's on my list to do. I'm really looking right now, so that's basically what's going on with me. I wish I had one. I know I should have one, but my kids right now are grown.
Yeah,
They're all grown and got their own. So,
that's
it's just
good.
little old me right now.
All right. I hear you, and thanks for sharing. I just wanted to say too, to piggyback off my own question, off my own situation, death brings out the worst in people. Like, I have seen families that were close-knit fighting over the most mundane thing.
You better say that.
After a family member passes, instead of them being there for each other and supporting each other. And it's heartbreaking to see the breakdown come so quickly over materialistic, worldly things, and I know for some, it's the fact that they've lost a piece of the person that they love and they just want to hold on to something tangible. And that's the case in some cases. But then you have situations where family members show up that you haven't seen in 30, 11, 57 million years that show up and want to claim everything, so it's just something to really think about. So your kids won't be fighting amongst themselves, and you don't have a sister coming from butt crap Egypt coming to, claim some stuff and you haven't seen her forever. It's such a stressful time. It's stressful for your family members who have to plan or make the arrangements, in addition to fighting with family to try to hold on to something that you had that was meant for them. So that's just something to really think about and consider. All right. Thanks, ladies. Moving on.
If I can,
go ahead. Mm-hmm.
If I can piggyback off what you were saying about death in the family, when people passed away, it was always somebody else's family. It was never mine. And I always said to myself that I'm lucky because no one on my side has passed. So just last year, September, my kids lost their father. My oldest child is 32. him and his dad they were like this. You couldn't see one without seeing the other. They, my son is having such a hard time. He can't call his dad 3 o'clock every morning like he does, or he don't get the calls from his dad. My girls, they're 20. Let's see, my daughter's 32. Then my youngest after that is 30, and then I got a 28-year-old. So they clash. They did exactly what you said, Yushima. They started arguing with one another. This wanted this of their dads. He's telling them no because he's the oldest. So, and then you have no answers for your kids. I all I can tell you is you'll be okay. It'll take time, but you'll be okay. I can't do nothing for you. I can just be your ear. I can give you my opinion on how things can be done, and that's it. That you all are grown, and that's something that you all have to work out, and you do what you think your dad would want you to do, pretty much. So, yeah.
That's good. I like how you brought that focus back to what would he want you to do in this situation? Because he definitely wouldn't want you guys fighting, right, over everything that he left. And I understand that a lot of these things come out of pain and grief. I get that. And as a parent, it must be really difficult for you to see them struggling with the loss of their dad, and then also the conflict that it caused because there wasn't anything in place to specifically sort out how he wanted his things allocated. So yeah, thank you for that point, Yvette. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's huge.
You're welcome.
This chapter also talks about our blended family. Juan and I have been married for about 10 years now, and he was very present in raising Mikey. However, due to other factors outside of our control, including Mikey's diagnosis and the behaviors that put our family at risk, it caused Quan to emotionally distance himself from Mikey, which was understandable because he did try to kill us all on more than one occasion. And I won't get into too much of that, but however, there's a video that will be linked under here to kind of describe it. And it's also detailed in my book about the things that he did to try to kill us. With that said, did you grow up in a blended family? And do you have a blended family now? And how are you making it work if you do? And this could be for anybody.
I'll go first on this one. Right now, I grew up in a blended family. My mother was married to a man that actually just passed away last month on on his son's birthday, which is my brother. And he raised me from the age of 2 on up to the age of 14, because as I was growing up, I didn't have a father, first of all. Me and my mother's relationship we were just butting heads every time. So I basically raised myself since the age of 14. So I've been through some things, and that's why, Yushima, when I tell you every time I'm reading your book and I'm inboxing you and I'm telling you, I can relate. Yeah. So, yeah. What was the other question?
And do you have a blended family now? And if so, how are you making it work?
Right now, it's just me and my dad right now. I do have a significant other, but right now we're here and living, and that's what's most important.
That's it. And it's different when you have adult children too, right? If they're out of the home. I mean, their opinion counts, but it's different.
Very different.
Yeah, because you could be like, child, go
because
home.
Because when your older child calls you and tells you what the other one has done, all I can say is you grown. Y'all got to work it out. I'm gonna tell you what I would do. I'm gonna suggest, but I can't tell you, hey, go do this. You got to think for yourself, and you got to do what you feel is right. I know how I raised you. So, you got to go from there. You're grown, you're on your own.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for sharing. Chanel and Sean.
I grew, so let me give a little history. So my mom, we moved to Indiana in years ago. When my sister was either one or two. So she got with Hank, and Hank had older kids than us. But his kids did not live with him. So his kids did not like my mother because she was so much younger than him too. But so the other girls, it was just one girl who didn't like her. So the other kids who were older and married and had kids, because remember, Hank was way older than my mom. So that was part of my my one blended family. Then when I got married, my husband had 3 kids, all by the same girl. So that was kind of that was one of the reasons I stayed, because I look like, okay, he has, excuse me, staying power. You know, like he would be there for the long haul. Um, so they actually came to live with us when we moved to Washington State, because my ex-husband was in the Navy. So when we moved to Washington State, I moved there in January. The kids came in September. And I went from having no kids to having 2 kids, because the third one, she was with his mother. So that was kind of hard, because the mother was telling them that they didn't have to listen to me. But he told them opposite though. He was like, no, no. She was like, don't hit my kids. And he told the mother, he said, there is no way she is going to be raising them, and she can't discipline them when she wants to, you know. And I don't like to whoop other people's kids anyway. So I kind of looked at it as though they were other people's kids and not my kids. I didn't get the feeling that they were my kids or get that attitude until like a few months after, you know, they were living with me and I'm doing everything. You know, then I'm like, oh, and then when we got married too, you know, so I was like, well, I talk to myself a lot, you know, because I have to walk myself through the process. And I said, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would want him to treat my kids as his kids. So that's when I got, you know, like, okay. So everything was good until they became teenagers. When they became teenagers, you know, I had never experienced this before, because I never gave my mom hell like that. Never, you know. I remember one day, no, I was scared of my mama. One day, one of the girls stole from our close friend, and she stole some money from him. Well, they have been stealing money from him, but it was small amounts, like maybe a 5, a 10, or 20. But I think this time it was either $40 or $60, right? And I'm tearing their room up, right? And the oldest one said, "You ain't my mama." Oh, oh, that hurt. That hurt. Because I'm here doing everything for you as a mother, and you're gonna throw those words at me. Yeah, so that hurt me, because now hands off, you know, hands off. Like, I'm gonna let your daddy deal with you from now on out, because he doesn't do the things that I do. He don't take you shopping. He don't take you to go get your hair done. You know, he didn't do none of that. He came home and his focus was whatever it was that he wanted to do. It was not us. I had to plan for a family day for us. And after we hung out and stuff like that, he wanted to hang out with his friends, you know? So, yeah, so it can work. It can work, but both adults have to be willing and able to give of themselves more than they have ever given of themselves.
Absolutely.
So right now I'm single. I don't have a blended family. It's just me and my daughter right now. But it can work though. It
Mhm.
can most definitely work.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I think everybody who has ever had stepchildren or have been a stepchild, at some point in their life, have either said those words or heard those words. And that's why when Quan started to distance himself from Mikey, even though as the mom, I was devastated because I'm like, you have to love him, no matter what. You can only take so much. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would not have been able to deal with the things Mikey did to us if the shoe was on the other foot. If I was the step parent, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So his staying power is a godsend. I don't know. Praise God for that, because child, I'd have been like, you and your child can deuces. All right. But thanks for sharing. Praise God. Okay. Chanel. Chanel.
So blended family. No, growing up, my mother and my father, they were together and they stayed together until my father passed. So no, and my mother never remarried. And it's a good thing that she didn't, because I would have been that little smart mouth teenager, like, you ain't none of my dad. You don't try to tell me what to do. So it was a good thing that didn't happen. I would have regretted that later on in life, but that's what would have been my emotions. That would have been my experience. And I would have made that a living hell for him. So I'm glad that didn't occur. She just stayed unmarried and just rocked it out as a mom. And so I thank her for that. And me, yes. I've had blended family experiences twice. I've been married 2 times, and I really quick, first marriage, my husband, he had 2 children before the marriage, and I took them in, and it felt like a family, and everything was great. I still have relationships with them until this day, and we don't spend as much time as I would like to, but it's good when I see them, and I always have warm thoughts, and we're good friends on Facebook. Social media definitely helps in that area. And then my second husband, it was a very bad situation. It was a bad situation because the mother of his children outside of me, it was a very tumultuous relationship. We worked together at some point. It was a lot of drama. So you can just imagine her feelings of, both of us being in the same working environment. The working environment closes, and then now I'm dating her ex-boyfriend. It was a bunch of back and forth. It was unhealthy, totally toxic. And so because of all those dynamics, I didn't have the type of relationship that I had with them prior to us dating. Prior to us dating, I got along really well with his children. Like I said, it's a long story. But on the other end, my husband, he had a lot to deal with taking on my 3 children, because I had 3 children from my previous marriage. So I've been on both ends, both being a stepmom and then having someone be the step parent. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of love, understanding, selflessness, a lot of qualities that you have to possess on a daily basis. It's a deal struggle. So I just want to say to those people out there who are being blended families and being step parents, you're amazing people. And just please continue to do what you do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's a hard, those are some big shoes to fill in a child's life, right? Those are huge shoes to fill. And I guess it helps when you put yourself in the child's place and really try to empathize and sympathize with them. It helps with how you interact with them. So thank you for that. Sean, I know you have to go. We're about to close up now, but I know you have a call that's coming in. So thank you so much for participating and always being here with us. So you have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Hey, Sean, bye.
Thank
Hope you have
you.
an
Bye,
amazing
ladies.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you too. Bye.
Bye. Yes, and I just want to piggyback off of what Chanel said, I absolutely commend all step parents. I've been a step parent, I've been a stepchild, and I'm married to a husband who has stepchildren. So it's always been a part of my life since forever. And I've been on the receiving end and on the giving end. And I think being a stepchild has really helped me to transition into being a stepmom when I had to become a stepmom. So yeah, it does take some work though, you know, but thank God I have really great stepchildren now. But yeah, it can be very difficult for people. Well, ladies, I just want to thank you and give you all a hand. I want to thank you for participating in this discussion today. And I want to thank you all for watching. Remember to check out my store, yearofyushima.net, where you will find some merch like this, inspirational, motivational, and empowering, okay? And you will find the book collection. Today we discussed chapter 7. So my clothing collection for chapter 7 is now available and ready for you to purchase. Every single piece was inspired by a story from my book, Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises. Check it out. I'm sure you'll find something there for everyone. Also, remember to check out the products and services from our panelists today. Links are below. Have a great day. And until next time, be bold, make a statement, and be empowered. Thank you.